If your EV has a tailpipe and accepts gasoline, it is not an electric car. You can call it electrified if you like, but that hybrid is still a dyno burner. Let's get into it. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So I'm joined by my good buddy Herbert here, as I so often am. And I know we've discussed hybrids before, but this madness drives me bonkers. I get that hybrids could have an advantage. There are some, I can see them, but the push it feels artificial to me. And I'd like to discuss it with you one more time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I have actually a different opinion than you, I think, because I heard you say that it makes sense for hybrids, that you think that they have a role in the space. And I'm like, what? No, they have zero role in the space. And I don't think it's I know why OEMs and automakers are doing this. I don't know, like you were saying that it makes sense why consumers are buying it. And that's the part I think we need to dive a little deeper in.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, let's start with this. I was doing my usual every single day search on the Google News for electric cars. And you say, oh, look at this, driving the least efficient Hummer. Yep. Kia's rugged EV concepts. Yep. And then right at the bottom there, you'll see it says some hybrid vehicles. So then you scroll down and it's like, oh yeah, hybrid vehicles. This is the second biggest category under electric cars topic. And I'm thinking, what? Why? And also how? Because again, if you've got a tailpipe, you're not an electric car. By that matter, every car that has a battery is a hybrid because I've got an electric starter. So let's not be crazy. One of the articles that was linked on that first slide was NIO to debut their first hybrid cars, but it's only going to be an overseas model. So NIO, who has apparently very fast charging, but also battery swaps, is saying that is also, they're going to make a hybrid. Why?
Bad mistake. Yeah. So NIO is a Chinese automaker. They're struggling, of course, in China, and they're competing heavily in China. I think they're making hybrids to sell it in the US or overseas, right? They're not going to sell it in China. That's what they meant.
Yes.
Yes. Why? I don't know. Because they're struggling and they're finding their niche. Because they need to compete, they need to completely change against all the other Chinese automakers. It's the wrong strategy. They will fail. Their last legs.
So if we look at this next slide I've got here, this is pretty fun. Ford, U.S. sales climbs 15% in October, led by hybrid vehicles and truck demand. Why do the legacy guys want to make hybrids?
Is that a real question? I mean,
it is. So first of all, it is a real question. I know the answer, but I would like you to tell the audience the answer.
I know you know the answer. That's why I was joking with you. So obviously electric vehicles is by far, no doubt, every automaker knows this is the future. They understand this. And you can see from the uptake from China and Europe, and it's only the US that's lagging behind because of incentives that came late. Electric vehicles are hard to make. No car company has been able to make it profitable. And so these guys are struggling. They're losing billions of dollars, specifically Ford. Ford just released their data recently, and I've got some information here about what they did. But, so they are making gas cars. And so they put in a tiny little battery. They call it an electric vehicle. They trick the consumer and they sell it saying, hey, we're electric as well. But really what it is, it's like it's a electric car. It's a nice car, right? With you tell me, but 90% of all electric vehicles are hybrids that I'm aware of. It's a nice car, gas car with tiny little batteries that only turn on whenever they think that they're going to run out of juice. And then what they're finding out now is that the vast majority of people who buy hybrids never even charge this little thing. Now in China, they have another model, which is so interesting, right? Where they actually have a battery and then they have a tiny little gas car engine that's only there if the battery is losing energy, and you can kind of add energy to it and extend the range. That's a true hybrid that I can get behind, but not these guys. These are just put in a battery, get the incentives in place, still get the incentives, trick the consumers. But it's a terrible thing for consumers. I don't think they know. They go best of both worlds, but at the end of the day, you've got a gas car and you're adding in more things into it, heavier, more things to brake, just other complexities. It's just it's crazy to do this because you already know in a gas car how much of a supply, the supply anxiety or the service anxiety that I have with gas cars. Now I'm going to have even more.
Service anxiety. I haven't heard that term before, but that's something I absolutely had with every car I've owned. When I would do road trips before my Tesla, I would rent a car to put miles on that car instead of mine because I knew that that clock was ticking, baby. And any one of these days, it's going to be a head gasket or a transmission or all kinds of things that I don't even have in my car. I did, by the way, my semi-annual Tesla maintenance just yesterday. I taught the kids how to pour a gallon of washer fluid into the reservoir.
Yeah.
And I did literally, I was like, no, get out here. You're going to watch. And they're like, wow, that was ridiculously easy. Yeah, don't worry. You'll do it next time. So what I think I hear you saying is, and by the way, it's not the best of both worlds because it's a small battery. That's not the best. And it's a small motor. That's not the best either. Exactly. It's the worst.
Nice.
So what I hear you saying is they can't make money on pure electric. So they're going to keep making money on gas. Is that right?
Is that a real question?
Well,
yes.
Let's look at this. 2025 Toyota Grand Highlander gets cheaper thanks to base LE trim. Now starts at 42 grand. This is an 8-seater dyno burner. And yes, they are making a profit at 42.3. And that's tricky. And what's happened is companies like this have pushed so far that they're shifting the conversation. Now, I'm not going to tell you which user this was, but I got a comment just yesterday. The EREV version of the PHEV could potentially dethrone the pure battery electric vehicle. What's an EREV? Well, first of all, plug-in hybrid EV, we know that. What's an EREV?
Isn't that the one I just mentioned? The version that I'm talking about?
Yeah, extended range EV. That's not an EV. This term was new to me. Extended range.
That's
my
what
friend,
I just said.
that's that's a dyno burner. Don't try and make up a
Right?
term that has EV in it. Don't.
No.
It's
The extended range electric vehicle is a large battery that has a small ice gas compartment.
Generator.
That generator could add more range to the battery. So that is that's more of an EV than hybrids.
It's closer, but it has a tailpipe.
Yes.
And I don't care for it. I get it, but I don't care for it. So by the way, do you remember a car called the Karma Revero? It's this guy. Beautiful car.
Karma. Yes, I know Karma.
Yeah. Karma Revero.
Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful car. Didn't work out great.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I had a chance to do a review of one. When I went to the Peterson Auto Museum, there was a gal there who owned one who was happy to share it with us, explain what's going on there. And Fisker's bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that it's a separate company and that Karma is still around and just unveiled a new car?
No.
Which is still a hybrid. Okay. You guys, what are you doing? Can we move past it? Can we?
They can't. That's why they're doing it.
They can't. So if we look at, you were saying how hard it is to make a profit. BYD, if you look, their hybrid sales are increasing.
Yes.
At one point, they were making more battery electric than hybrid, and now they're back to more hybrids than battery electric.
Yeah.
Which is very disappointing. I feel like, so I guess a question I would have for you is, are there enough batteries? Could everybody go electric today? How many more cars could we?
As far as I know, that we're not battery constrained anymore. That lithium prices have fallen significantly.
We are not battery constrained for the production we have today.
Yeah.
But if we tried to, what are we at? 20% globally. Yeah. If we tried to, multiply that 5x, we definitely don't have that many batteries.
Yeah.
But as you know, and here's some silver lining for you. Not all hybrids are popular. We've got this absolute gem here I would like to share with you. Mercedes has crazy good deals on the C63 because nobody wants them. You can save 10 grand on this hybrid, which has a 4-cylinder instead of a V8 and a little battery drive as well. So it is, and what a beaut. If you hate your frunk space, my friend, what a mess. So yeah, not all hybrids are created equal. and that's probably for the best. Any closing thoughts on what are we going to do to break this dependency?
There's nothing we can do, right? So these are the last flailing kind of steps or strategies that if you are a car company, you recognize electric vehicles are future. You can't create electric vehicles that are profitable. You go and pretend you've got one, and then you just go on with that, and buys you time. And then eventually, though, that people will catch on, and they're not buying these PEVs. I think we saw a statistic recently, right? In 2023, the PHEV is 5.6% globally of all sales compared to all total car sales globally, 5.6%. And then BEVs is at 12.9%. And the PEVs, yes, they're growing, but it's not as fast as the EVs are. And you know what's going on in China, and China, that's basically all BEVs, right? Or that's what they're pushing hard on. And then this comment that the guy said that Tesla has a blind spot, thinking that these EREV, what they call extended range EVs, that's a way, which is if you add a gas generator to these things that it can extend range. That's not a blind spot. That's an interesting, cool feature for people who want to go on road trips, but it's not something that, because again, what are you doing? You're adding cost to your everyday car. You don't need it. To lower cost without that extra generator, it's just fine for 90% of people driving. But if you're going for these long things, sure, long rides, maybe you'll go, I just want that peace of mind, I'll add that. It's not a category killer. It's just more of a niche killer.
I made a joke with the boys yesterday. I was saying how we got out of the car. My son just grabbed the charger and plugged it in. And I said, boy, wasn't that a burden? He's like, no. And I said, by the way, when we are on road trips, how do you feel about the amount of time we spend at the pump? Yeah. At the juice box. And he said, he goes, it feels the same to me. We plug in the car, we go do whatever. Before, we would pump gas, park, and then do our thing. And it didn't really feel like it saved much time. He said it's refreshing to just walk away and be out of the car for a bit. And yeah, and with the new Model 3 long range, you're getting some good range. You're getting serious range. And I expect that to just kind of continue into the future. We'll see what kind of ranges it settles out at. BYD, of course, has a hybrid that gets like 1,000 miles of range. We'll see if anyone actually buys the car, if it's actually worth it to people to go that long between stops.
Final thought I want to add is that the battery technology is at the beginning of its S-curve of kind of like invention and innovation. The gas car had been here for 100 years. It's tapped out. It's not like you're going to get additional, huge leaps in range. So this idea that I'm going to add these extended range, and that's going to be my answer. By the time that they even get a full hold, the batteries are going to get higher, longer range. Tesla specifically is working on 4680, and that's about to go scale. And so these things will just in fact, because it's just at the beginning, the innovation in battery technology to get extended range is a lot likelier to happen than you can get with these, extended range. It's almost like a crutch at this point.
I love it. You nailed it. I think quite about perfectly. Batteries are only getting better and cheaper, and it'll be exciting to see what comes next. The chemists are doing their amazing job at coming up with new formulations that can get just a bit more and a bit more in every aspect, and it seems to be working fantastic. Guys, head on over to Herbert's channel, see what he's up to. Everybody else, like, subscribe, leave a comment, as you must. It is, as my viewers now know, mandatory. Yeah, there ain't no party like a Brian party, because a Brian party is mandatory. Everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, when you leave a comment.